Hey, you. It's been a while. I'm so glad you're here. And I'm so glad that you've chosen to connect with us. And we know that you have a lot of podcast options, and we're really honored to have you here. If you haven't already, feel free to hit the follow button, leave us a review, or maybe tell your friends about us. Also, if you'd like to continue supporting our podcast journey, we recommend you search for the link in our description and become a supporter. Any type of contribution goes a long way to keep the search alive. Welcome, everybody, to Searching for MacGuffin with your hosts,
George?
Gabe.
And Link.
Today, we're going to be talking about theaters, then and now. How we started watching theaters and how they've changed over the years and what it's like in the current climate.
Yeah, I think movies are a super important part of our lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And a big part of that has been watching them in first run at the movie theaters, which is the option that we had for most of our lives, for most of the films that we had.
Mm-hmm.
There was always the movies that you watch at home, but the movies that you rush to watch, that you have that initial experience and response, for many years our only options were the movies, the movie theaters. So with that comes different lifestyles, different habits. Not all theaters are equal, and not all movie goers have the same experience. I don't know if you remember the first time you stepped into a theater. I remember for me, it was 1992, and my father took me as a treat for the first time to watch Batman Returns.
Wow.
And Batman Returns was the sequel to my first VHS tape that I can remember, which was Batman 89. So this was a momentous experience. And I don't think I ever looked back. I just became fascinated with this room that you pay to go in and share in a communal experience. What about you guys?
I think for me, technically the first movie I went to the theaters was The Phantom Menace. Do I remember that movie? No. Am I thankful for it? Maybe. But I remember that I mean, Star Wars is a big part of our family, and it was just I remember that I can remember going. I just don't remember what the movie was about. And the following films I think that I started to remember being at the theaters for was the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Yeah.
And subsequently the Star Wars prequels. But I think the Lord of the Rings has really stuck with me. Those are my earliest memories in the theaters.
I don't think I had ever been in a theater that long till I saw the Lord of the Rings movie.
I think that conditioned me to not really caring how long a movie is in the theater if it's good.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. For me, kind of, I'm the same like George. My first movie was Batman.
Oh, really?
1997, Batman and Robin.
Okay.
What a classic.
The
rendition.
classic, the best Batman
not quite
ever.
on the same
Best
level.
Batman movie ever made.
I don't think that's
Academy Award winning, or should have been.
George
I don't
Clooney.
know. I don't know why Arnold didn't win.
true. Or Chris O'Donnell.
No, Arnold
Okay.
didn't win a best supporting actor.
Fake lips.
But yeah, that was the first movie I ever watched in theaters, and
No, rubber
was-
lips.
Was it rubber? I thought it was
Rubber lips.
No, I
yeah.
thought it was plastic. Thanks for the correction.
but yeah, so it wasn't the best movie to go to, but it is what it is.
You know, it wasn't the best movie, but it was your movie. No?
Unfortunately, yeah. Unfortunately.
So we lived and we got older and we stopped being taken to the movies by our parents, and instead we ended up having to pay for movies ourselves.
Well, technically, you guys paid for us.
Really? That how?
You and my sister paid for me. No.
Really? We used to pay for your movies?
Maybe for Link, not for me.
Yeah, this is.
You were younger.
Oh, that's true. Your first movie was.
But I'm pretty sure money was sent with me.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. So eventually, we had to find a way to watch all these movies, and it was funny because for so many people, like my friends growing up, movie going was like an event. It was like, oh, we're gonna watch that movie. But for me, it was a habit. It was like, what movie am I watching this week?
Yeah.
Sometimes 2 or 3 movies.
During the weekend, yeah.
Yeah. So it used to be find the cheapest time, earlier, find the cheapest theater. Oh, dollar theaters. Did you guys ever get to experience dollar theaters?
Nah.
Later on in life.
Really?
Yeah.
Where?
In Tennessee,
Mm.
and there was one in Orlando, I think, as well.
Okay, yeah. We used to have a dollar theater here in Miami, and the hot dogs and the nachos were also $1.
Nice.
So it was like the most amazing experience. None of it was good, but it was ours. It was
It was an experience.
yeah, I mean. So then came the subscription service, which is all the rage now for everything. But my first subscription service was MoviePass, and I got this several years ago. It was like a $30 service, and I got it so that I could, basically watch the movies that I wanted. And I had it when nobody had it, right? Because it was like $30 is like a big investment.
$30 a month, $30 a year.
Yeah, it was $30 a month. It was $30
Oh,
a
wow.
month.
What? I thought it was cheaper.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, because I had MoviePass before everyone else heard
Yeah.
about MoviePass. It was like a super niche product. And I had it. My wife didn't have it. And I used to like just rack up points on my card to pay for the other tickets. So I would like pass by the movie theater on the way home from work or from school, and I would just buy a ticket to the movie and then not go to the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Or buy a ticket to the movie and then like return it for one of those vouchers. And then I would just keep stacking up like free tickets to the movies because you could go to one movie per day. But it was $30. Then somebody bought them, an investment firm or whatever it was, and then they created that $9.99 plan, which I think is when you guys jumped aboard.
Yep.
What was that like?
That was magical.
You guys told me about it, and I was like, this seems too good to be true.
Yeah.
It literally
And
was.
it really was.
I would have been super skeptical too, except that I had already had it for years, and the price had gone up for me. It was like $25 at first, then it was $30 like the second year, then it was $35, and then this bargain bin price came, but I had been with the company for several years, so I knew it was real.
And I mean, really quick thing, I think for anybody that doesn't know you, George, you have a talent, I think, for finding deals, finding loopholes in so many things. You just keep your ear to the ground.
Sticking it to the man.
Yeah, you're just always like
Corporations.
updated, and it's nothing like shady or illegal. Like it's all like
It's
Like
perfect.
taking advantage of promotions and stuff. And
yeah, but like just finding it to like just squeeze the most out of it, and it's like honestly throughout the years it's been a talent and a joy to watch.
You're like a couponer, but for nerds.
Yeah. Well, it comes out of necessity because for anyone who's listening to this show, we're into a lot of stuff and it gets really
It's really
expensive.
yeah.
Yeah. And the higher you go up in the tax bracket through your life, you're a kid, you don't have an income. Then you're like making a couple of bucks on the sides while you're in college. Then you get your first real job, then you get a better job. But then the expenses go up too because everything keeps getting more expensive and you get into more stuff.
Yeah.
And you're keeping up with the Joneses in like a sci-fi nerd, like geek kind of way. So I had to survive, and this was what I shared with you guys, MoviePass.
And we're so thankful for your service.
So that flopped eventually. I mean, it was
It
unsustainable.
was literally too good to be true.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I would ask the questions like, how do these people make money? Like, how is this profitable?
They were selling our data, right? That's how they were supposed to get their
Yeah,
money.
they were supposed to sell our data.
But they realized that who cares about this?
Yeah,
data?
nobody wants the date like movie going data, at least not for the amount of money that they were spending on paying for our movie tickets.
Well, with MoviePass, they had that monthly fee, correct?
Yes.
And you can watch. Was there a limit to?
One a day, right?
It was one a day of a regular standard ticket. So no Dolby, no IMAX, no RPX, whatever it might be. No 3D. 3D was big at the time.
Yeah.
And that was always a problem. The problem is with me was that the theaters, especially before the $9.99 thing, I know before the crash, theaters got smart of it and they started like cracking down on you returning tickets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But basically, in relation to the theater and you were paying for a ticket. A credit card, a Visa, or a MasterCard was paying for a ticket. They got their money. They didn't care. So, like, I would buy a regular price ticket, and then I'd just exchange it at the box office for a 3D ticket and pay the difference, like $1, $3, whatever it is. Upgrade to... So I could watch whatever movie I want. I just had to pay a couple of extra bucks. But, I mean, it was amazing at the time to be able to, buy whatever you want.
Yeah.
But it crashed because they couldn't get the money they wanted for the data.
Too many people like you.
Yeah, well, the $9.99 though model was not sustainable. It doesn't. I mean, I had been doing it for years at $30. It kind of makes sense because you can only go to so many movies.
Yeah.
And I'm sure some people, it was kind of like the gym membership. That was the other thing, that they literally sold it like, oh, some people aren't going to go to the movies. It's going to be so cheap. They're not even going to use it.
Yeah.
But like for $10, they're going to go to one movie in the month. And if they don't go this month, they're going to go to 2 next month. Like there's no way you're...
During the summer, they go like the 3.
Yeah.
3 or
They
4.
could not go to a movie like January through March and then over the summer just eat you alive like your whole...
Yeah.
So it really didn't make sense. But I also think it was like a racketeering scheme. It was just to pump investors in and then, cash out.
Cash out. I mean, I remember when as it was collapsing, like literally seeing it, like we were just getting updates and tweets and just updates on Reddit. And I remember just seeing it like it's unraveling. People were pulling out. Like the service wasn't really working. People were at theaters like causing like there was like a ruckus and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I remember as I think we were watching a movie at home, and as all that was happening, we're like, man, this is crazy. Like I can imagine all the people that just like subscribe and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I received a text from a friend that basically read, "Hey bro, just got Movie Pass. What are we gonna watch next?"
As it was falling apart.
And that was like I showed all you guys, and then we got a good laugh out of it. And I think one of you posted on Reddit, and it got pretty popular.
I remember they ran a promotion near the end where they're like, "Oh, prepay for the whole month, for the whole year. I'm sorry, and it'll be cheaper." And then people were asking me, "Should I do that?" And I was like, "Don't do it. Don't do it. This isn't gonna last." Some people did anyways. It is what it is. Some of them got some money back, but I remember when it crashed for me. I was watching that Rock Skyscraper movie. I don't remember what it was called.
Skyscraper.
It's about grind. It's about power. We stay hungry. We devour.
Is it really just called Skyscraper?
I'm pretty sure it's just called
Okay.
Skyscraper.
Well, so I was gonna watch Skyscraper for no reason, I guess, just because movies are free, and then it wouldn't work. It was like, oh, you can only watch it like at 9 at this theater, and I'm like, wait, what? What now? So I was already at the theater. And I was like, all right, this is the time. I'm gonna subscribe to AMC A-List.
It's happening.
Wait, why were you watching that rock movie?
I mean, it was because your brother wanted to watch it. To be honest with you,
Were you gonna
It was
ask him why didn't you invite him?
No, I would
I don't
not
think-
want. I would not want to watch that.
no, I don't think he even looked.
Or were
at
you
it.
in California?
I was in California.
Yeah.
I didn't want to. But I still wouldn't want to watch that.
I think he was like, hey, they're saying good things about the Skyscraper movie,
And I
was
mean,
like,
you have Movie Pass,
yeah,
so
and I was
why
like,
not?
yeah, it's free, whatever. I already paid for
I
it.
wouldn't waste my time on that.
So I got AMC A-List, right? If Movie Pass walked and then crashed and burned so that A-List could walk, that kind of became the thing. The past, how long did we have it before theaters closed?
I want to say like 2 years.
Yeah,
Yeah, something like
that was
that.
a
Yeah.
good while.
And it's been a nice ride. Well, for anyone who doesn't have A-List or doesn't know how it works or was confused during this entire Movie Pass conversation, what is AMC A-List and how does it work exactly?
Well, basically, AMC A-List is basically what George was saying, how Movie Pass crashed and burned, and the Movie Pass walked so AMC could run, basically. It's a subscription-based service where you pay, it's a different amount, it's a different fees depending on the state,
depending
correct?
on your state.
Yeah. So it's roughly around $22.
It's like 20, 22, or 25, depending on what state you live in.
25.
Yeah, I think if you're in New York or California, it's 25. But like,
Man,
if you're in New York or California, like one ticket to the theater is like $25.
that's true. And basically, you pay that monthly subscription fee, and you get to watch, I believe, 3 movies a week.
Mm-hmm.
And it's any format, really. IMAX, Dolby, 3D, which honestly, like George said, one ticket to that basically the service pays for itself.
Yeah, and also this model makes a lot more sense because you're more limited. You only got 3 movies, but I mean, come on, most normal people, you're not gonna have time for more than that. And also, it's the theater selling you the tickets directly, so it makes more sense because they basically cut into their profit for the ticket sale, in order to get you in the theater, so they can sell you other stuff. And it's kind of like it's a subscription model. It's just like instead of making you pay for the movie, like a streaming service or any other subscription, they pay to get you in there, and then they sell you.
They front the cost.
Yeah, and for full representation here, I know that Regal has another service, Regal Unlimited, and you can actually watch a different movie every day. You just have to book them in person, otherwise they charge you fees and stuff. So there's other models like that. We just don't have experience with it. We've been with AMC for the last 2 years, and I think that this created moviegoing and theater as a weekly, culture for us. So where were you at right before theaters started closing in 2020? What was your movie habits like? How often would you go? What would you watch? With whom?
I'd go with you guys whenever you guys went.
You wouldn't go with other people?
Yeah. No, I pretty much go to any movie I wanted. That's one of the things I love about AMC, at least the one here in Miami, is that, or Sunset. They have more of a selection, especially with the indie films.
Uh-huh.
So I like going to that one. And
Yeah.
It's like the artisan films, correct?
Yeah. That's another reason too why I chose AMC A-List over Regal Unlimited in our region, and this could be completely inverted in someone else's region, but in our region, that's where the art house films, where the independent films, where the smarter films go, because our local Regals don't really carry those movies.
Exactly. So I would watch any movie I was interested in. And I knew for sure I was going to get the big blockbuster ones with you guys. And I knew for sure that if I wanted to watch an indie movie, you guys would probably be interested in it too.
Right.
So I wasn't worried about going by myself because, I'm like, hey, you want to go watch this, Gabriel? I'm like, yeah. All right. So that was my movie habit. Just going with you guys and with friends as well. But mostly you guys.
Yeah, so for me, I was still in Tennessee at the time in college. And I basically was like the AMC spokesperson for my friend group. Before the pandemic, I was with A-List. I was going to the movies almost every week when there was like a significant drop or like a thing to do in the weekend. You know, small town, there's not a lot to do. So movies are always a good deal. The movie theater was like 25 minutes away. And so it was their biggest format. The best format was IMAX only. They didn't have any Dolby.
Okay.
Which I kind of missed out on, like some big films. But it's still fine because IMAX was like my Dolby. IMAX was everything, and I would always go to IMAX film unless it was something that didn't have that premium format. But definitely, I was convincing people. I was like, hey, you guys want to watch a movie like during the week? It was especially like on Tuesdays, since they had like discount Tuesdays.
Yeah.
So general tickets were like $5, and I just convinced them like, hey, like, do you want to come? I had with me, inviting people and bringing people to the theaters. I would pay for their tickets, and then they just send me the money and just rack up those reward points. So I never really had to pay for concession for food.
You can invite a friend every once
like
in a
if you want to come
go on a
tickets.
date.
So it's like it was basically just paying for itself, and I was thriving off of it. And it's like those big movie events, like let's say Endgame or the big blockbuster movies like Star Wars. I was buying like entire rows for people. I remember like for Endgame, that was one of the big ones. I bought like 2 rows for everyone, and I got so many points. I really just $5 reward, $5 reward, $5. And I think that people kind of saw me as like the movie guy, like, hey, I was like a movie agent in the sense of like you know, tickets like a ticket agent for vacation. They're like, hey, are you gonna go watch this? They're like I was like acquaintances with. They'd be like, hey, you're going to this? I heard you're going to this movie. Do you think you can get me a ticket? Or like I was the guy that like gets the seats for people. And I mean, I kind of like that. Yeah. You know, it's something that I'm passionate about. It's something that I frequently go to. And
you become the go-to movie guy.
Yeah. And I mean, I love doing that. I love being able to facilitate that for them, because if it wasn't for me, I don't think a lot of them would be in the theaters seeing movies or finding something they like, because because a lot of them ended up being regulars with me, coming to I was like, hey, you guys want to watch this? And sometimes they'd be like, hey, you gonna watch this? Or even other times they would subscribe to A-List. Right. And I mean, it was kind of a loss with the points, but I mean, I was happy I had someone else to come with me to enjoy this. And sometimes it was just, sometimes I would go by myself. No one like could come, and I'm not a person that needs to be with somebody else. I just like enjoying the movie. Serves as a distraction sometimes. And I remember one time I was going through like an emotional issue. It was like a breakup, and I ended up going to watch that Predator movie. Oh, the most recent one.
Was that a pick me up, or was
no? It sent me down a darker hole, but I got over it.
It reminded you of her, huh?
No. Officially.
You know what's funny, because like I said, I'm usually I'm an introvert. I don't like doing many things with people. Video games, I'd rather play by myself. Right. I know you guys talked about like the social aspect of video games. But going to movies is one of the few things where I really enjoy going with people. I don't mind going by myself, like you said. Like if no one wants to go to a movie don't want to go to, they don't want to go to, no problem. I'll watch it and I'll be happy because I'm watching it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't mind. I love going to movie theaters with people. I love that. One of the few things that I'm happy to socialize in.
Yeah. You both mentioned the social aspect, which is huge for theater going and the theater going experience. Part of that is being able to share the art of film that, we all love with our friends and our family. And the other part of it is sitting in a room with complete strangers and kind of having a sort of communal worship, right? Where you're a shared experience, right? Where you explore these narratives, these stories, and you can look around the room or you can hear and listen to those reactions. What's one of the high points of your theater going experience?
Oh man, so for me, nothing. Maybe Endgame probably.
Okay.
But the highest point for me was when The Dark Knight Rises came out. AMC had this promotion where you could watch the whole trilogy that same night, right?
Mhm.
You'll start off with Batman Begins like at 3 p.m. And then you go to The Dark Knight at 6 p.m. and then at midnight you'd watch Dark Knight Rises.
It was
And
beautiful.
we did that. And that was like the best day of my life. I love that day so much because we spend it with people I love, good friends who also love Batman. Like I said, Batman's special to me. He was the first movie. It was the first movie I ever watched.
Right.
And not only that, I just love the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogies. The Dark Knight trilogies are great. There's some of I think, the best comic book movies out there. And the fact that I was able to watch all three of them in that day, it reminded me, man, how good is this Batman Begins?
It really hammered it home.
Dang, Batman Begins is great.
I also loved watching it with like a gamut of different type of people, because there were some who had seen the movies 50 times. There were some who it'd been a long time, so it was like they were new again. And then there were literally people who had never seen a Batman movie. So it was literally like 6-7 hours of completely new Batman content for them. Like, weren't even really into Batman.
I
and
envy them so much.
Yeah. It was quite an experience.
But yeah, so that was like, I peaked there in life.
I mean, I was kind of happy with that experience because I was watching Batman Begins and I was like, hey, it's not Tom Cruise. This is Christian Bale. And I love Christian Bale now.
Yes. Listeners who remember that, Gabriel thought Tom Cruise.
It's a throwback.
Yeah.
But I think that experience is very up high on my list. And I mean, for the sake of variety, I'll go with a different cinematic event.
Mhm.
And that would be with the MCU, with Avengers Endgame. And I think, I mean, I can't really talk about Endgame without mentioning Infinity War.
Yeah.
The year before that. And I mean, and those like those blockbuster events, those big movies, I think that, I mean, the reactions are something that people will always remember.
Mm-hmm.
It stays with you for a long time. And I remember in Infinity War, when the movie ended, like I remember when Thor's entrance into Wakanda, everyone's freaking out. Like that was one of the biggest cheers moments, or pops, if you will. And so I thought I would kind of get that reaction toward the end, because it was like, that's gonna happen. But when I tell you that the end of Infinity War, how it ended after the snap, you could like the tension in the room was palpable. You could feel everyone just deflate.
Yeah.
Everyone is
like
just
unified depression, even though we know it's not real.
Yeah, like it visibly affected people. I mean, including myself. Everyone was just like, what just happened? And that was a different experience, because usually like everyone's like cheering and everyone's having a great time.
Mm-hmm.
But that one's like, it's collective depression. And it's like, it's you feel it more in a group.
Yeah. And you expect it in like a small group, like at some indie film, which it's about some kind of horrors of humanity, right?
Exactly.
But you don't expect it in a big tentpole film.
Exactly. So then moving forward, we go through that year, then Endgame comes out. And for me, like, there was a lot of things growing up to it. It was my senior year of college. Just finished a soccer championship game, which we won, thankfully. And then, but to be honest, the game was in my rearview mirror. Or like, to be honest, if we went to extra time, I told everyone there, if we went to extra time, I was gonna leave to meet my showing, to get to my showing.
What?
You have to.
I told him, I was like, listen,
whatever it takes.
I was using that for like a month straight. This wasn't like, I wasn't messing around. Like the soccer game, it's like, listen, okay, that's fine. You guys enjoy it. You guys have fun. But if it's extra time, I'm gone because the showing was like
So we're tied. There's a minute left. I'm gonna auto goal.
Yeah.
sorry
We're
guys.
losing.
Sorry guys. You just got to do it without me. That was actually would have been really bad. I was the captain. So, but anyways, half of my soccer team was going to that showing with me. So
Did it drive you to win, or
it pushed me? I think it did push me. I watched the trailer right before the game, like I did with the other one.
Mhm.
But so we thankfully won, and then we're just racing over. We go get we shower, we change. I put on my Captain America t-shirt and my giant Tony Stark Iron Man helmet,
okay?
and we are on our way to the film. And that's one of the things, getting to the film before you're even in the theater. It was such like it's a surreal experience because everyone's buzzing.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much tension before you even get in there. Everyone's excited. People dress up in costumes and things like that. And it's different.
Yeah.
So once we're in the theaters, everyone's still excited. Whatever. We watched the movie. Before we watched the movie, I actually recorded a voice memo to record the reactions that the theater has.
Really?
And I still listen to it sometimes randomly. Like I'm just like, oh, voice memos. Let's see what they got. And I can just pinpoint every moment that happens, every like crowd reaction.
You have your own watch along tape.
Basically. But it's like I'm not even watching it. I'm just listening to it. But like even just listening to it can take me back. Like when Thor picks up the when Cap picks up the hammer.
Yeah.
That was incredible. When it's just, there's so many, like I can't even describe all of them. There's so many moments that it's unbelievable, and to me it's probably the most special, if not for the Dark Knight trilogy. But I don't think I've ever experienced anything. I don't think I will, to be honest.
Yeah.
It was such a moment that I don't know.
Moment in time. Right?
Yeah, it was beautiful, and I'm happy that I was able to kind of get a little piece of that with the voice memo, with the voice notes, and kind of just to keep with me, to take it with me. And if anyone wants to listen to it, I can share it with them, like if they didn't get that experience.
Yeah,
which
audio
I feel
time
like,
capsule.
Yeah, I feel like everyone more or less did.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was just incredibly special to me.
It almost sounds ridiculous the way that you describe it, but that's what we look into on this show, because these stories, they engage with us and we see ourselves reflected in them. It's almost like losing Infinity War was like losing an election or some kind of great tragedy, and then the triumph of Endgame is like collective celebration, like, you know, winning one with the team, like larger than us. And
yeah, like you're in there with them.
Yeah.
And it's a special experience. And I don't know, there's a video out there of me after watching the film, with me in my Iron Man helmet,
Mhm.
and my head just in my hands after like witnessing what I just saw. Obviously I was sad, spoilers for Tony, but just it was just so much. It was just so much epicness. I mean, for lack of a better term, I really can't put it into words exactly what I felt. But yeah, that's just extremely special to me.
Yeah. You guys mentioned tragedy. You guys mentioned triumph. You mentioned new discoveries, surprises. It's funny because for me, my high points, you would think it'd be Link's answer. It's comedy. It's humor. It's laughing on the floor in a theater full of complete strangers. I'll never forget. We were in New York. We were visiting, me and my wife. And everywhere we go watch a movie. Even though we're traveling, like we have an agenda of like all the important things, but we still find time to sneak in a movie to remember that trip. And I remember Nacho Libre had come out, and it was like the dumbest movie, and we didn't know anything like going into it. We're just like, okay, Jack Black is a Mexican luchador. We've talked about like my passion for professional wrestling. You know, we like comedy films, so we paid like $20 for a ticket on Times Square. Like we were having dinner in Times Square and seeing the sights, and we thought we'd pop in. The movie was short, and we didn't know what to expect, and we were just on the floor laughing. Not just because the movie was funny, which it is, but just the unexpectedness of it being funny in the way that it was, and then the infection of just being surrounded by other people who are also laughing at it. Because a crowd could kill a show, and it could also elevate it. And a movie theater experience is just like that, in the same way as like concerts or theater or live action plays. So the fact that we were all on the same page, and then the other time that I laughed was I went to go see not a midnight release, like a 10 p.m. release of Snakes on a Plane. I think it came out at 8 or 10 p.m. I know I didn't go at midnight. I wasn't that hardcore. But this movie like was basically, for me, the first meme film where like everything about it was being memed. And I showed up and I dragged my wife to the movie, and she's like, "Why are we watching this again?" She was aware of the memes and everything, but not enough to get her to go watch the movie, especially opening night. But man, am I so glad that I went on opening night, because every single person there was on the same page that this movie was going to be a joke and that we were there to make fun of it. So we weren't stepping on anybody's toes, because we were all counting down the snake clock. We were all saying all the lines from the trailers. We hadn't seen this movie, but we already knew the script. And it just, you can't recreate that. You probably didn't get that the third day or a week later or at home for sure, And these experiences, they defined what would keep driving us back into these dark rooms with strangers to listen to other people's stories. But all of that was taken away from us with the pandemic closures. So last year was a hard year for theaters. And I don't know how you guys reacted to it, but for a while there, I questioned whether we would be coming back to them. What was your initial response to the theater closures?
It was hard losing movie theaters. Because I thought we were going to lose them forever.
Yeah.
Because, you kept up with the news. It seemed like AMC was going to go bankrupt. They're going to...
Yeah.
I thought AMC was going to be done. Like, we lost AMC forever. But I wasn't... But I was okay with it. Because streaming started happening.
Okay.
They started streaming more movies in theaters. I mean, on streaming services. And I enjoyed that a lot. So, it hurt. But like I said, I don't mind watching movies by myself.
And you were watching them by yourself, right? Because it wasn't even like you could get together.
Yeah, I couldn't get with other people, right? So I'm like, oh, you know what? I didn't have to pay much for it. I think someone's Netflix paid for this.
Right.
Someone's HBO Max paid for this. I'm good. I got to watch free movies. Didn't have to pay for parking. Didn't have to pay for gas.
Yeah.
I got what I wanted.
Yeah, and for me, I think that, referring back to my previous story about Endgame, I think after that I was kind of not exhausted, but it was a lot that I went through.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was still going to watch movies, but I don't think it was as like I need to be there, opening. I was still trying to attempt, but it wasn't the same passion. I feel like sometimes I needed a break. But I was still going, and it started building back up when Rise of Skywalker was coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I had such hype for this film. And
what could go wrong?
Yeah, it was. I think that's a story for a different time. But then after that, I started watching. There was some quality movies coming out, and it was a weird start to the year. But they did have some really good movies like 1917, Bad Boys for Life, Little Women. I really enjoyed The Gentleman.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that one too.
And the last movie I actually saw in theaters before everything had started was Harley Quinn: Birds of Prey. That was around like February.
Mm-hmm.
And then the pandemic came and everything closed. And I was like, well, what's going to happen? Because, I mean, there are movies slated to release. When are they going to come? I remember like James Bond was one of them.
Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
Wonder Woman, exactly.
Yeah.
And Black Widow.
Right.
And I was just kind of like, oh, what are they going to do? Because there was a film, there was a movie coming out, The Invisible Man.
Yeah, The Invisible Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I watched that right before
that movie was supposed to come out, and I think that was one of the first ones that I remember being like a straight to
no, it came out. It had a really small window before the pandemic, so it was still running in theaters.
Okay.
So once the theaters closed, like it went straight to like it skipped the normal like cycle. Like it would have still been in theaters, but because theaters were closed, it was there way early. So you might have missed it and it felt like right away. But
Gotcha.
yeah, I saw it before. What was the last couple of movies you saw in the theater?
I want to say, man, that's a hard one. I want to say all the movies leading up to the Oscars.
Mm-hmm.
Little Woman, Jojo Rabbit,
Yeah.
1917. But that was the year, that was December, January.
Yeah.
So maybe Birds of Prey. I know we watched The Invisible Man together.
Mm-hmm. I know after the Oscars we saw Birds of Prey and we saw Invisible Man.
So I think probably The Invisible Man.
Did you ever watch Sonic the Hedgehog?
No, unfortunately not, because I love John Ralphio, but I didn't get to watch
I didn't either, but I heard the movie was good.
Did you watch Call of the WAP?
That's Harrison Ford, right?
Yeah. That was pretty good too. I saw Emma and then I saw Onward. I took my nephews to see, or cousins to see Onward. And then theaters closed and it was on Disney Plus like in weeks. And I was like, man, I went to go watch Onward for no reason. I mean, it was fine. It was a good movie. But it was just funny, that experience of like, I just saw those movies in theaters and now everybody can watch them at home, especially Onward because it was free.
But it's really strange now, like once they started sending some of these movies straight to home. Because when I was younger, I'd watch a movie in theaters, and this is before Movie Pass or A-List, before I could rewatch a movie, I had to actually pay again.
Yeah.
And I really couldn't go with myself because I was young.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically I would watch it once, and if some of you guys went to watch it again, awesome, good for me. But most of the times it was only just once.
Yeah, and it was going to be months before you could ever see it again.
Exactly. And there was moments in certain movies where like, I want to watch this again. I want to see this again. And like you said, it'd be months before they came out on DVD. And to have those movies come straight, like either just watching it in the theaters and then having it, or just coming straight to home, was really like, it was really weird. It was really strange. I was welcoming it, but I also thought it was, I don't know, it was such a culture shock to me, I think.
No, I loved it. As soon as they started doing them, I'm like, this makes sense. I hope this is a model that we move to.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I was kind of a proponent for this model. I think theaters have always had a role or a place in our release models, but more things direct to consumer, I think that's great, especially digital too. We're here already, right? Before there was a big controversy, Netflix started producing these big movies, getting Oscar noms for them.
Yeah.
And there was a big controversy. Well, they're not really in theaters. They would release them in LA for 7 days, which I think is like the minimum requirement. And then it would show up on streaming. But we were moving into these because more and more platforms.
The Irishman was one of them.
Yeah, The Irishman. Was the Italian film
Roma.
And is that even an Italian film?
No,
that's a Mexican. It's called Roma, man. I'm sorry, I forgot.
I know what you meant.
Yeah, I'm glad you knew what I meant, even though I got the geographical location wrong. But several of those types of movies, and also the action blockbusters, and Netflix was becoming like as big of a studio as all the other major studios, to the point where the major studios started creating their own platforms because they realized, yeah, we're getting paid a lot of money to put these movies on Netflix, but I bet we can make more money if we just distribute them ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that was like exacerbated in the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that we were always going to head this route. I think that, with Netflix changing the game like such a long time ago, it's just been growing. But I definitely think the pandemic expedited the process of basically what we now call the streaming wars.
Right.
And for better or worse, it's here. And I don't know how to feel. I mean, I'm happy because I think in the world we live in today, I think the consumer wins.
Yeah, I think
exactly.
so too.
That's why I like it.
And I think, I completely agree with you, but I think that for me, there was a moment during the pandemic, and it still could happen, that theaters were starting to look a thing of the past.
Yeah.
It was starting to look as if they were going to be the new drive-ins.
Yeah.
Something you do like an arcade or something like that. Something
Yeah,
you
the
do
arcades,
like
absolutely.
Something you do on a date.
I remember George giving me that that speech, and I'm like, I could see it happening.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, I think they've done a good job with reopening, and we'll get to reopening in a second, but I do still think that the more digital our society becomes and the more advances we have at home. For example, I was never like a technical film buff in the sense I never had a great sound system. I had a good TV, but never like cutting edge.
Yeah.
But once we got sent home and months passed without a theater experience, I started investing in my home system for the first time. You know, surround sound, lights. You know, the sync box. You know,
that was a whole mission to find all the connecting pieces to make it the ultimate entertainment.
Yeah, to kind of create your own in-home theater experience. You know, finally making the jump to 4K and Dolby support, getting the right apps, the right device to get the best bit rate.
Because that is one thing. It's not only about, especially like talking about a home theater system, it's not just about the screen, the fancy TV or anything like that. The sound plays a huge role into that.
Yeah, especially in those premium formats,
exactly, yeah.
which we didn't grow up watching because they didn't exist.
Yeah.
And then they're way overpriced. I mean, obviously they're priced at a reasonable price, but it's just a lot of money to go watch a movie, to take a risk on a movie that you haven't seen for $20. But with these subscription services,
they're allowed to have
now they're like the only thing I go watch.
I love you, AMC.
So we switched. There was a couple of experiments that went on during the pandemic. Disney tried Premier Access. What did you think about that model? Like, pay for the movie, $30 up front, and then you have it from this point on, as long as you're subscribed to their service.
I'm gonna be honest. I never purchased a movie on my own.
Okay.
If someone wanted to get it, someone wanted to watch it, and if you had enough people, and then we'll chip in and we'll get it and we'll watch it. I think we did that for Mulan.
We did it for Mulan, yeah. Because
I
I had tickets to Mulan.
We did it for Mulan and Black Widow, no?
Yeah. I'm gonna be honest with you. I did it with someone on my account for every premiere. Like, I did it for Cruella because the kids and the families, that are in my family, they wanted it. I did it for Jungle Cruise too, because we still weren't ready and we wanted to watch it, and we were kind of starved for content.
Yeah.
And it was $30, so it was like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, divided by 30. It's easy to pay for it, and that's it, and it's there. And I also wanted to support that model.
Yeah. So I think that, well, we were in two different places at the time.
Yeah, geographically.
You guys were down here in Miami.
Also philosophically.
Exactly. I was back up there in Tennessee, and around August, they were a little more lax, I guess, with the restrictions. AMC was opening up theaters. Were they opening theaters down here? Or
I think they were opening here, but
Miami
was
Miami
not
was like a hot spot, right?
Yeah, I don't think many people were going.
Yeah, our numbers were way high, and the restrictions were very, like, they were open, but it was like they were sending very little seats in the theater.
Yeah,
and and me personally, like, I have older parents, so I wasn't considering going out there and exposing myself.
No, of course.
I'm an educator. I teach other kids and stuff, so I was still at home. So, but you're a young, sexy, college age student at the time.
So with the difference in locations, like I said, the restrictions weren't as tight over there. So I would go. AMC had opened up, and they were spacing you out. I think you had like one seat. You had like every 2 seats around you was blocked off, and like someone had to sit around you there.
Which was beautiful for buying out a theater, by the way, because here in one theater here in Tamiami, there's only like 30 seats in the theater.
Yeah.
So if you choose the right seats, you could block out the entire theater. It was amazing.
So one thing that I did enjoy with this, like, obviously the theaters are trying to get some business back, so they bring back a bunch of classics. So this gave me the opportunity to watch Inception.
Yeah.
For the 10th anniversary. And Empire Strikes Back.
Wow.
Which I never got to watch in the theater, so I thought it was a great opportunity to do it, because I think at this time AMC had paused A-List.
Yes.
And you could like bring it back up if you wanted to. So that's what I did, and following that Christopher Nolan trend, I watched Tenet.
Yes. I had to wait for it at home.
Tenet was a controversial. Christopher Nolan's like, we're keeping this to theaters.
I'm the movie that's going to reopen theaters, and we're going to have a hard window before it goes out.
You're going to theaters, you're going to watch this movie, you're not going to understand any of it with the sound mixing, but whatever. So I watched Tenet, and the first time I watched it, halfway through the movie, the power goes out. And I was really sad.
Wow, that sounds like a tragedy.
and then I basically had to come back and watch it again. But I love the film, and it was a very weird experience to be there, like, with sparsely any people. There wasn't really anyone in there, but it was a nice experience because I'm not really used to that. I'm not really used to an empty theater like that.
Yeah.
But like I said, with bringing them back to classics for throughout the pandemic, I thought that was really cool of them, and it gave me an opportunity to see older movies that I never got to see when I was young.
Which, if you get that chance ever to watch the original Star Wars movie, especially Empire, yes, I highly recommend.
I didn't know they were doing that. I wish I could do that.
Yeah, I think they're still doing classics and stuff too now, though. I think they have $5 favorites.
I mean, they have so many like different opportunities. Like you can rent out a whole theater now.
Which we did actually do that. We did that for my niece's birthday.
Raya, right?
Raya and the Last Dragon.
How was that experience?
Which then made me get the premiere access because forget it, she wanted to watch it again. So
yeah.
That was amazing. It was amazing to have an entire theater for like a relatively per head ticket price. It was awesome. It's awesome.
It was $200, right?
Yeah, it's like $200, but you can get 20 people, so it's about $10 each per ticket, and they still have those options. And those prices, those were like dream things growing up. It was like one day I'll have an entire theater for myself, and that's like at your fingertips now.
Yeah. So I think we've had that discussion before. With our difference of opinions in this model and what it was bringing. What are your thoughts in this climate?
I mean, me personally, I think I was with Link. The theater model is important, but I really enjoy watching at home. I'm getting older now, and convenience is a big part of it. And the fact that I have to drive 20 to 30 minutes, I have to park, I have to sit through 30 minutes of trailers.
See Nicole Kidman. Watch a movie.
Yeah, Nicole Kidman has to introduce every single movie at AMC.
La La Land, Jurassic Park. She has to see all these movies.
Wonder Woman.
And
then drive back home. It's just a lot of work. At home, I was able to watch more stuff because I could just go in one, and I could start a movie late, and then if I got tired, I could turn it off, and I'll finish it tomorrow.
Exactly.
Yeah. Watch it again right away because, like you said, rewatches are super important. So you took me to go watch Black Widow because things were better around that time, and you were really adamant about, wow, we've waited all this time for a Marvel movie. We have to see it in theater. So you even, you dragged me kicking and screaming, and you helped pay for my ticket, but it was a great experience, but immediately I wanted to watch it right away, Yeah. And you can do that so easily at home. Subtitles is a big part, too.
That's what I love about it.
Go ahead.
Especially with Tenet.
Yeah.
Had I watched it in theaters, I'd be like, what the heck did I just watch? Because I cannot understand anything.
It's a trick to make you go multiple times. I'm
which worked, by the way. But A-list, thank you, AMC.
I do think, though, it does make watching the movie fun, trying to figure out what they're saying. Because it's already a confusing movie. But trying to understand, trying to decipher what they're saying.
Yeah.
That's a fun game.
But I noticed that some of the theaters, especially AMC, again, it's the one we're most experienced with, are bringing caption.
Closed cap, closed caption options,
which is great. And I've always wondered. I know they've always had support, you could get a little device to go, so people who are hard of hearing have that kind of support.
Can I do that? Can we do that?
Yeah, you can do that. But now they actually have screenings that have it on the screen, so everybody can enjoy without the the support, the devices.
Yeah, which is really, really cool of them, and I think obviously, it's times are changing.
Yeah,
and I think that this change is proving to be a good thing. There's so many different. I think Link mentioned it before. So many different types of films being brought to theaters, foreign films as well. And one of those I think we watched together was the Demon Slayer movie.
Yeah,
and I thought that was incredible. That movie's great on its own, but
you took me for my birthday. Yes.
Yeah, and so, but they had that film I hadn't seen that before. Where they have which is was new to me.
Was it a Fathom event?
No, it was okay. They were just putting it out in theaters.
Yeah,
but they had the English dub and they had it sub.
Yes,
and I thought that was really cool that they had the option to do both. It's not just the dub for the people that are fans of the sub. You can watch it either way.
I know here in Miami we have a huge bilingual population, and they have subtitles in Spanish. They have Spanish language at certain times, so options there for those that want to see those alternatives. That's what was beautiful too, I think, about the the digital releases, especially like the Disney ones, the Premier Access ones that I got a lot of, you had special features right away. You had, you had the captions, you had different languages if you needed to. You mentioned that you went back for Tenet. You watched a couple of other stuff. Okay. Me and Link went back into the theater a little later. Link, what was it that drove you back into the theater finally?
I'm not sure what came out first, the Demon Slayer movie or Snake Eyes.
Demon Slayer, I think.
Yeah, you took me for my birthday, and then when I realized, okay, you know what, it's not that bad. There's barely anyone there. We went for Snake Eyes. I think for Snake Eyes, that's when I got A-list again for Snake Eyes, because during the pandemic, they paused it. You were allowed to pause it. I paused it, and then
you're like, it's Snake Eyes. I don't want to pay for
I was like, yeah, I don't want to pay for it.
That was a good call. You should not pay for Snake Eyes.
So yeah, I got Snake Eyes was the one that brought me back.
Okay.
And I think kind of going back to what you were saying with the at home watching at home, I think we were having this discussion. I think what started off was Wonder Woman 84.
Yes.
And when that movie came out,
that was a letdown.
In my head, I was like, we're gonna watch this in theaters, and they're like, no, we're not. We're gonna watch it at home. And I was like, okay, I'm not gonna fight you on that. And we watched it at home, and I think that's the first like main film that was like that big blockbuster film that was coming out in theaters that was at home, and that's the first time
without an additional purchase.
Yeah,
exactly
right.
And it was straight to the.
And that was a bold move. Warner Brothers did that with HBO Max.
Yeah.
They had a new streaming platform that had just come out, and they went all in and just said they were going to put the entire slate.
Exactly.
On it.
And
I love that.
Yeah, I did too.
I know it's not good for a lot of actors and actresses and directors complain about it. But
and I understand that not being good for them, but also if we can reconfigure that compensation scale to something fair, we can move towards that model. It was kind of a surprise out of left field for them.
Yeah, like I said, I think that was a very strange experience for me. I guess where I'm at in my life is the theaters are so important. The theaters are so big for me.
Yeah.
That I don't think anything can replicate that experience. So I'm always a proponent of if I can watch it in the theaters, I mean with A-list, of course.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big draw for me. It's like if I'm paying for A-list and I want to check something out, I can go check it out. And that experience for me is just different. Like being in there, it doesn't even have to be with as I've seen it. It doesn't have to be with other people. I do enjoy the social aspect. I don't talk to anyone, and I don't know any of them. But it's obviously you have to be careful and safe in this environment. But nothing's gonna replace watching a movie in theaters for me. But what I have seen is with Wonder Woman 84 especially, I thought that movie, I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of it.
Yeah.
And after watching it, like when I was watching it during that experience, it was kind of like people could go to the bathroom. I think I was more inclined to make jokes or to talk through it. I wasn't as focused in the story. And it just so happened that the movie for me was weak and it wasn't that great. But I did notice that it was like, I don't want to use a weird word, but it just felt kind of irreverent to the film.
Yeah.
And I wasn't as focused. So maybe if it was a better film, I would have felt differently. But I think that opened my eyes to, hey, you don't have to watch everything in theaters. Yeah. It's possible. It's like you can take a risk, sure, but it could be a safer bet to just watch it at home.
Yeah. I agree with you. It's a catch-22 because we've talked about how your experience can shape your perspective. And sometimes if we do or don't enjoy a film is based on how and who we watched it with and at what time. I thought I enjoyed Wonder Woman 84 more at home.
Yeah.
You
enjoyed it in the movie.
Because it was low risk. It was like, yeah, that was fine. Then I then I
think about it, it's like, oh, wait.
Oh, you know what? I'm not going to watch it
I'm
again.
glad I didn't go to the theaters to watch it.
Yeah, exactly. And so HBO released a bunch of movies. And what I learned, I think, in 2021 was that, I don't like a whole ton of Warner Brothers films, apparently. Because a mixed bag is definitely what we got. And every month I was like, this was going to come on in theaters? They were going to make me drive to the movie theater and conceivably pay for a ticket and then sit there? Like, this is a movie they spent millions of dollars on? And, I won't at what specific films they're Mortal Kombat, but many of them, it was hit or miss. It was like, oh, this was fine. I'm glad I watched it at home. oh, this was. I mean, was there a standout HBO Max title?
Dune?
Dune, yeah. I mean, we
Oh, yeah.
waited all year for it though.
Oh, like at the beginning of the year?
Yeah, like
Listen, I feel like I'm a slave. I can be a slave to the moment, slave to the hype.
Yeah.
So when the Mortal Kombat trailer dropped, I was like, man, this is kind of hype.
I was like,
But then,
be careful, guys.
but then you were talking to me and you're like, this movie's gonna suck, and I'm like, is he right? And then you were just like, we're just gonna watch it at home. And then when the reviews came out, people said it sucked. I didn't watch the movie for like a month after, or 3 weeks, right before it was about to come off of HBO, and I was like, yeah, this movie sucks. I'm glad I didn't watch it in theaters. I'm sorry to those who like that movie.
Yeah, I'm sure. And for those that worked really hard in making the movie, I'm sure you had a really good time. I'm sure you had your hands tied. You would have liked it to be better.
But I think that just emphasizes the point that I really don't have to watch every movie in the theater, because you're right. A lot of those movies were gonna come out in theater,
Yeah.
and if I went to go watch them in theaters, I would have been like, man, maybe I just wasted some gas.
Yeah, like Tom and Jerry was fun watching at home with the kids.
I enjoyed watching that one.
Yeah.
For sure.
Space Jam, I thought was fine. I know a lot of people don't like Space Jam. I thought it was fine.
I haven't watched it.
You know, and that happened eventually during the pandemic. I didn't. I thought I was gonna watch everything, and I just started missing stuff, and it was like, oh, it's there. I'll get to it when I get to it.
Yeah, I also think that.
It took away that brevity to want to watch movies.
Yeah,
Mhm.
with the pandemic and with everything going on, it's kind of made us like, we can have it whenever we want.
Yeah,
We can have it. If we
Absolutely.
want something, we want it now.
yeah,
And with the theatrical window, it's like you should watch this now, especially if they're big name movies.
and you want them in a premium format because you're not gonna get that experience.
Exactly. And I think that's kind of like how I look at it now.
Yeah.
With big films coming out, and if I have the time and if I think something's gonna be good, I'll go watch an indie film or something like that, either with friends or by myself.
Mm-hmm.
But I am grateful for the abundance of choice. To be able to say, hey, I'm going to want to go watch this in theaters, or I don't feel like going, I can watch this at home.
Yeah, I think that consumer choice is
Yeah.
super important.
That's what. Yeah, and this is why I love this model so much, because we get to decide. You know,
Mhm.
It's not a movie theater trying to decide for me. I get to decide.
Yeah, I also think it puts pressure on them to deliver a quality product. I'll give you an example.
Do you think so?
I think so. I think they could rest on their laurels.
After seeing what Netflix does.
Yeah, but I think, for example, F9, the Fast Saga. I was convinced to go watch this in July. I didn't re-up my A
I
list.
forgot that we watched that. Yeah.
I did. I paid for a movie ticket, a full Dolby Experience ticket for this movie, and I waited because I wasn't sure at first, but I heard it was so ridiculous that it had to be seen. So it was a couple of weeks late on it. So I watched it in July, and it was terrible. It was, for those of you that don't know, the Fast and the Furious series is a guilty pleasure for me. So I should enjoy this movie because, I think they're hilariously bad. This one was atrociously bad, and it drove me out of the theater. I was like, I'm not gonna go back to the theater. That's it. And I stayed away all the way till September. The other part was that I paid for this movie, and then just 2 weeks later, it was on streaming, and I was like, you see, and we got these shorter and shorter windows now. Basically, all the major studios are doing 45-minute windows.
Yeah.
45 days.
40. And I said this
And you
multiple
practiced
times
it, yeah.
when we were talking about.
It's okay. I
Yeah,
like
so
it.
45-day windows, Paramount Plus, Universal with Peacock. I forget what other streaming services are because
There's
12
50.
of them.
Yeah. You can't really keep track.
So basically, every major studio is just gonna kind of skip their home video release. They're not, because it's 30 days you'll have home video, and then 45 they'll be on streaming.
Yeah.
And those numbers will change depending on the title. But I also stopped buying movies because I used to buy a lot of movies, and now it's kind of it's gonna end up somewhere because every movie is a piece of content that someone's gonna grab up. Either one of the major studios produced it, or Netflix, Amazon Prime are gonna bid on it. It's gonna
Yeah,
be.
it's gonna go
Yeah, because they're basically adding to their vault. They're adding to their collection, and I think that they pay these large amounts of money for a film that's that's basically what's gonna make the money. It's not like they're gonna have like ticket sales or anything.
Right.
It's you're buying a title that's bringing. It's like another one. It's like another one for the books. Like you're buying a title that brings more people. It's like, oh, they have this movie. Oh, they have this movie. We should just subscribe to this service. And I think that it's changing the game. I think it's changing the business model, and it's very, very interesting to see these different streaming services and the ways that they're going about navigating these waters.
So I think what you were like hinting at, Link, is flooding the market with all these titles and just kind of producing garbage or uninteresting titles. But I think that they have to really think about the movies they're going to spend millions of dollars to put in theaters, because you have to convince someone to go watch them, because in literally weeks they'll be at home, and in literally other weeks they'll be on a streaming service that you already own. So you really have to convince the consumer to go watch it right now. Because in the back of the minds, you're always going to be like, I already have HBO or Peacock or Disney Plus, and I'll get it eventually. Oh, Disney's the other one. 45-day window for their movies. So, what have we watched since then? I did end up going back in September because, I got to have my Marvel movies. So, I saw Shang-Chi. We all saw Shang-Chi.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. I went back for... That's when I reactivated my A-list, because I knew, okay, the next couple of months are going to be big. So I finally got to see Bond and Dune and Eternals, which we won't speak about here, Ghostbusters, Encanto, but a lot of like blockbuster movies, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you guys are mostly been watching?
Yeah. So
Yeah. Go ahead, Gabriel.
for me, I think we saw pretty much similar movies. I guess some of the titles was Jason Statham in Wrath of Man, which is one of those movies that it's like I kind of like watch with my grandpa. That's one of those movies he like those generic action movies,
Right.
And I watched it with my other uncle, and I mean, we had an alright time. Like he didn't pay for it, so we went on Discount Tuesday. So I mean, I had that covered with A-list. We like Snake Eyes, Black Widow. I saw The Green Knight, which Sunset actually had on it was pretty limited release. But I went opening weekend or opening day.
I think you did go opening day actually.
Which was because I had a system. I had to go play soccer and then go home, shower, and then go watch the movie.
Yeah, and then you have the next day off.
And those are my Thursdays basically. Those have been my Thursdays. And I watched that, and it was a pretty like, it's not a blockbuster movie. It's not a huge movie, so it was in a smaller theater, and it was an intimate setting, and it was a nice change of pace because I'm always in the Dolby theater. I'm always in a big like premium format.
Yeah. That's funny.
Theater.
I haven't been in a non-luxury seat in like years.
What?
Yeah, I haven't seen a movie in a regular chair.
What are you
I did.
talking
I went
about?
to.
Regular chair.
Yeah, because when we go to Tamiami, they have those
Yeah,
luxury
you're right.
recliners
Those
too.
are great. I went to a Regal in Orlando.
Ugh.
I'm not really
Ah.
proud of it, and I don't know if the like its gimmick or what it was going for was like retro like theater from the 80s or something.
That's just what theaters are like. We're spoiled.
But I went in there and it was, I don't know, kind of smelled like a hospital. The seats were like creaky and
that's why AMC basically almost went bankrupt. They got banked out by investors twice over the pandemic, but the reason they went bankrupt so quickly over the other theater chains is because they've spent so much money on infrastructure, on theater like renovations, on new chairs, on bigger screens, on digital, and all that. How have the movies been doing, the box office performance?
Wait, I didn't say what movies I saw.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I apologize.
I forgive you. I forgive you both.
Thank you.
what did I do?
I don't know. You didn't do anything. I'm sorry. I forgive you.
I don't know if I've still forgiven you about Avengers and Colston.
Ah. So, like, I pretty much watched all the movies you guys watched. Yeah.
Really?
That's what you wanted to. That's what you interrupted. I didn't get to check.
Listen. I didn't get to say
I didn't get to say
movies,
mine.
okay?
Mine's ridiculous. You get me?
They're the exact same movies you saw.
Because, like I said, I watch movies with you guys, and I've been going a lot with Gabriel. I have seen some movies that I didn't watch with you guys. I went to a Fathom event and watched Howl's Moving Castle.
Oh, that's nice.
That is nice.
I think that was probably the best movie I saw in movie theaters. I don't know, that or Dune. And then I watched The French Dispatch.
Oh man, I haven't had a chance.
Yeah,
to
I
watch
went by
that.
myself because I think Gabriel was gone that
Yeah, I
weekend.
gotta
You
catch
were
that one.
out that weekend. I was by myself. And then
Mhm.
let me go watch this movie. And I was the only guy in the movie theater. It was just me and a bunch of Wes Anderson
Elderly
fans.
women?
No, no, no.
Oh,
Like
okay.
young women. And that's when I realized, maybe I do have a type. And it's the Wes Anderson fans. So I was really happy. So anytime there's another Wes Anderson movie, I'm coming down.
You're
theater.
there, yeah,
I'm
you're
gonna
there.
be
Opening-
there.
opening
Open-
night.
Opening
Day
night.
one.
Exactly.
Whatever variant is out there, you're gonna be there.
And then Gabriel and I watched House of Gucci,
Oh,
Very nice.
which I feel like I sarcastically love because of all the terrible accents. And I honestly feel that if Adam Driver used his Italian accent as Kylo Ren, the sequels would be fixed. Because
that's a bold. Wow.
Repeat that.
If Adam Driver used his Italian accent as Kylo Ren, the sequels would be fixed.
Yeah, that's all it would take.
That's all it would take to fix.
Maybe the
sequels.
last one. Maybe Rise.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
Because he
yeah,
has,
yeah,
like-
yeah, yeah, right. Because I like the other two.
It was just interesting watching that one because they're like heavy hit. Like there's some heavy hitters in that movie.
The
Jeremy,
cast for House of
my
Gucci.
Jeremy
goodness.
Irons, Adam Driver, Jared Leto,
Al
Al
Pacino.
Pacino. Lady Gaga's been doing pretty well as well. But
They reanimated Al Pacino.
that's kind of what it looks like.
We were counting how many times they said they would say the word Gucci.
We lost count like 8 minutes
Yeah,
in.
'cause I
There
had to
was
go
like,
pee.
but no, I think you were counting. There was like at least like 15.
Yeah,
But it was very interesting to hear all those accents and how they.
it's so
And how they
ridiculous. I loved it.
One of the movies that I actually really enjoyed was No Time to Die.
Oh yeah.
And
yes.
that one, I mean, we could do a whole review on it, but I think that like pertaining to this topic is that movie got postponed like how many times?
Like 57.
And
It feels like.
that was one of, if not my most anticipated film of the
Mhm.
year. It was between that and Dune, and we were right there. We were like a month before. Everything
Yeah.
closed down around March-ish.
Yes, and they pushed it back.
The movie was slated to come out in April, and I was like, man, it's gonna be great. Birthday month, gonna watch No Time to Die, and because I love these Bond films.
Yeah.
I love Daniel Craig and everything he's done with the character. And he got moved, and I remember I was like, man, I understand, but man, we were right there. And I think this is like one of the first times where it's like this movie got like a movie that's so close to coming out that I'm ready to like it's done.
Mm-hmm.
And they're doing like the music came out, the Billie Eilish song came out, like I was getting ready for it, and then they're just like, "Hey, we're gonna push it back to November."
That's not the song.
That's a beautiful rendition.
Boom.
And I was angry. I was like, man, I had so much hype for it. I was so much anticipation, and they just pushed it back. And then
Did it live up to the hype? Because I haven't seen it.
What?
Remember, I didn't watch the pre.
we'll go.
Oh, that's right.
A-list, bro. A-list, we'll go. It's still out. It's still
No,
in
it's
theaters.
not. It's at home now though. You can.
Oh no,
binge
I'd
the
rather
whole
just
series.
watch it at home.
Yeah.
And then I'll just go by myself and watch it again.
I waited so long for this movie that I just lost not interest. I obviously was waiting for it, but at some point this period became so long that it was like I'll watch it when I watch it, and whenever it really exists and I can see it. But I think that made me enjoy it more because when I showed up, it was like, oh, this is an old friend, you know.
You know what it was? It was I just felt hurt. Like I just felt hurt that we were gonna get this film and it got pushed and then pushed again. And I like after the second one, I was like, I'm over it. Like my hype's died. Like I was just upset.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it finally came out, like maybe like the day or two before, I was like, I was watching the original films. And watching in theaters, I was like, man, this was fantastic. And it was, I think, one of the first ones where it's like, aside from Black Widow, that had gotten pushed,
Yeah.
and my anticipation maybe wasn't as high, but I think the film was great, and I'm happy that eventually I did get to watch it.
Yeah. I think movies like Shang-Chi, Ghostbusters Afterlife, and 007,
Dune.
Yeah.
No Time for That, Dune, they really like sold me on like why this experience is so different.
Yeah.
The movie that deserves to be seen in the theater, especially in those larger formats.
Even though sometimes you couldn't understand what they were saying in Dune.
which is why I loved the dual release. I loved being able to then just go home
yes,
and rewatch
I
it.
love that option
Yeah.
so much. Thank you, HBO Max.
Yeah.
I know you got some heat for that, but for me, you don't get heat. You get love.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I still went out and watched it in theater.
Yeah,
You know?
and we watched it the next day at home.
Yeah.
It was.
So-
I thought it was beautiful, and I mean that's something you can share with people that maybe couldn't attend with you at the theater
Mhm.
or don't have a list or whatever reason, and you can just share that with them.
Yeah.
And I think that part of the model that really resonates with me, and I love it.
So they're struggling to make the money that these films made before the pandemic. So we're slowly getting back into that. And with that, what we talked about, these dual releases, they've kind of shifted how their content is. We know that HBO is going to release a new movie. Supposedly, we don't know what many of them are going to be, but they're going to try to do a theatrical-like release once a month for HBO Max to keep those subscriptions going. We know Disney is producing movies and TV that are cinematic levels. What do you think is the future of this model? Where are we going? Where do you see this continuing to evolve, and how?
I personally think it's gonna eventually. Yes, we're doing both movies and theaters. I think reopening movie theaters is pushing back the demise of movie theaters. I think eventually we're just gonna go full streaming.
So you think it's inevitable?
Inevitable, yeah, exactly.
Is there anything you think that movie theaters can incorporate into their experience that will either elongate, delay that, or put off the end of movie theaters?
No.
No?
I don't know.
What about you, Gabriel? What do you think theaters can provide that maybe the home experience can't?
The food, the sound quality, but even
cheaper concessions, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, that's
or better concessions,
more
because
premium. Like if you have premium formats for movies, maybe premium formats for food.
Mhm.
Or
yeah, Aeropuerto Tropical.
well, it's like because we used to go to this theater called the Cine Bistro, right? And they have like luxury food with a luxury screening. We haven't gone in a while because those prices are pretty exorbitant. And when I don't have to pay for the movie, then I can pay for premium. But maybe in something like that, I know that there's like bars in AMC's now.
Yeah, you called MacGuffins, right?
Yeah, that's actually true. Yeah, I guess I probably shouldn't have brought that up.
Sponsor
No
us,
relation.
AMC. Sponsor us.
But I think that
We're already shilling for you.
For real.
I think that with what's happening now, a part of me agrees with Link that I think this change is inevitable, but I don't think it'll be anytime soon. I think in the heat of the pandemic and kind of towards, it's not over, but I think when movie theaters started opening up, I think it was looking very, very bleak,
Grim.
which was what made us have these conversations
Mhm.
of maybe movie theaters are going to be a thing of the past. But with these big movies, I think there is going to be a shift. Maybe indie films and maybe small budget films that usually were getting screen time, maybe they won't have as many opportunities to be shown. Maybe the larger blockbusters or the big budget movies are going to be taking more screens because the theaters are realizing, hey, this is what's going to make us the most money and how we survive. I don't want it to go, but the way that it's happening, I think like Netflix and I think Paramount Plus are going to be releasing like new content like every week, a movie like a week next year. I think they were saying that
is what they were saying.
and that's like, what? That's insane.
Yeah.
And I think that there's just going to be such an influx of content, such an influx of film.
And there's going to be a demand also for creators to provide that content.
Exactly. And it's a tough spot for studios, for directors and actors doing the work, what they want to do with, TV being as big as it is, like maybe traditional actors that are usually just do film, they're going to have to be rethinking all those things.
But they've already been doing that though.
But and that's what I'm saying. Like it's gonna, but it's not. I'm not saying it's gonna be like easy for them. I think it's a tough position. But as a consumer, we're thriving right now. Like
it might be an opportunity too, because you talk about an independent movie getting pushed out even more so than they already were from theaters, because like we have to go to specific theaters that actually carry them as it is. But that might be another opportunity because there might be more eyeballs on those films if they go direct to streaming. If everybody already has Netflix and Amazon Prime, maybe more people will watch that than will pay a ticket out of their pocket to go watch it, especially those movies that don't really benefit much from a premium experience.
Yeah.
So it might be an opportunity for those kind of creators to find a platform that will be more beneficial. I thought about I walked into an arcade the other day, one of those like David Buster's or Game Time, those large like complex arcades, and I saw a bunch of new games like a Mario Kart that's like exclusive to the arcade.
Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah, Luigi's Mansion. I saw that one. I was like, how do you play a Luigi's Mansion arcade? It must be completely different.
It's not fun.
Oh, it's not really?
Nah.
Well, anyways, I thought, look, here are a bunch of games that don't exist at home, and they're still here thriving in an arcade setting that is kind of like a thing of the past. Maybe movies are going to become a luxury,
Like drive-in movie theaters.
Yeah, exactly, because they still exist, right? And people go to them. They're just not like a main source of income for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. You really don't.
Mm-hmm.
You can see trends, but people's tastes are fickle. You never know what people are gonna gravitate towards, or what they're gonna spend their money on. And especially with all these different mediums being presented, it's really fascinating to see. And I mean, I can't really predict that. I can say maybe what might happen, but it also makes it kind of fun. Like, times are changing. It's not always going to be the same. And I mean, I think we need that as a society, as growth.
Yeah. I think we live in a world where we have so much at our fingertips. Information is shared back and forth. It all started with just prose narrations. We used to go to the live theater and see actors perform that. And that became less popular as we invented film, and then we created the theaters. Now we can see these stories at home. But these mediums, they continue to exist, among certain circles. We don't stop telling stories a certain way. We just diversify. And we still teach in schools, but you can learn anything from behind your computer screen. And I think that it's amazing that as technology advances, the storytelling methods, they adapt, but at their core, they remain the same type of stories we've been telling our whole lives. We seek to communicate ideas to one another and share our stories with the people around us. And we can sit here and we can provide conjecture as to what direction. But the great thing about the future is that we never really know where it's going. So all we can do is continue to explore this world and try to find that place where we belong. Sometimes it's in a theater hall, sometimes it's sitting at home, but always it's surrounded by the people that we love and by new people that we're one moment away from meeting and discovering. And as we continue to share our stories and explore the stories of others, we seek what that driving force. Until next time, keep on searching.